Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Will Manis, who's going to be joining us here shortly. Tonight's episode live here on the Crowded Booth. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're ranking the ACC quarterbacks. Well, kind of. We're going to talk ACC quarterbacks post-spring football. Stay tuned. Whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube. We'll see you just a second.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Welcome in, everybody. My name is
No.
Bryce Koon. Oh, did I say something wrong?
No, you're good. I was jumping the gun. I got to move over here. I got to be on the left.
You got to be on the left. I'm sorry.
I gotta be
Oh,
on the left.
yes. You are the guy
on the
that's
left.
on the left, per the comments. Hey, welcome in.
If
My
you've
name's Bryce
gone
Koon.
through the comments of some of these SEC episodes, you'll know what we're talking about.
You will. Look, my name's Bryce Koon. That is Will Manis. Ralph Leary is still traversing the roads throughout the Muskogee County area, so he'll be on. He's not off the show, Josh Brown. He's not off the show. But hey, if you're locked in, let's keep talking about ACC college football. And man, it is a fantastic time of the year. We are near the Memorial Day weekend. We are now under 100 days from when college football will be back, and we are excited to continue and rock and roll with this coverage. A couple things before we get started. Keep that subscriber count, going. Maxwell says the subscriber count keeps growing. We have surpassed 2,500 subs over on the YouTube channel. Make sure you get in over there, whether you're watching on Twitter or wherever you might be going.
I've been working hard. The clown on the left, I think, has got people clicking that subscribe button.
Yeah, you do. And we've
I'll
jumped into
take
a couple
some
Twitter
credit here.
spaces too, which has helped us.
Yeah.
We've jumped into a couple Twitter spaces, but hey, we're getting ready to rock and roll. Before we get started, we're going to do this. Let us know where you're watching from. Name where you're watching from down in the comments. We got our man Maxwell from Birmingham. Mark Clark says Preston Stone. We're going to talk about Preston Stone
I'm excited
here
to talk
tonight.
about some Preston Stone.
All right, let's start it off with this, Will. This is not going to be an hour-plus show tonight. This is going to be it might, depending on the debate we
I
get
think that's
in.
gonna
And
be up to the comments, really,
true,
as it always is on this channel.
that is also true. Yeah, it could definitely happen. We're ranking ACC quarterbacks. Will's doing in some data entry over there, so we're going to start with this. I wish that we didn't have to rank these quarterbacks. I wish that we could just say that we probably should have done tier rankings, of what we wanted to do. John Burns says Woodbine, Georgia. Power Tech says Woodstock, Georgia. Salutations from Sandy Springs from Nico the Greek. All right, because, Will, I don't know if genuinely, here's the problem. When you look at these quarterbacks, every single time we in our heads nominate, or we've talked about this over the past 4 or 5 days, every time you go to nominate, here's my number one guy, there is a glaring deficiency of why, or an argument to be made. Deficiency might be a strong word, but an argument to be made that is a valid argument of why they can't be a top quarterback in the conference. So I think this is a very fluid situation. We'll open it up with that conversation.
Very much so. Every time I've said one, I've had to say, now wait a minute, because of this guy or because of this stat. This quarterback has this problem or this deficiency compared to something that this guy doesn't have, but the other guy's got his own problems too. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I was thinking about it. If you've seen those tier list videos, it goes S tier, A, B, C, D, all the way down. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are in the S tier. And, this is not to keep up my reputation as the clown on the left to just anger people in the comments. The quarterback position is such an interesting position in this conference. There's some really good athletes that we'll get into. But it's hard to rank all 17 and there's quarterback competition. So we'll be talking about more than 17 quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to be talking about more than just 17 quarterbacks. I think, too, what you have to measure with these is you have to take into account the body of work of what they've done, but also the potential impact that we believe they can have in 2024. I mean, there's a lot of guys, and for a lot of people, if you look around different publications, the number one quarterback on their list is a guy who has never played in the ACC. So it's really comes down to a fact of where, it's it's good conversation and good fodder. So this is how we're going to approach this. We're going to run through some names, Will, and I've just this is kind of off the cuff. I'm saying this. Let's run through some of the names of the guys that we don't think are necessarily near the top. And then when we get to that kind of A and B tier list, let's act like we're in court. Let's give here's the deficiency of said quarterback. I think that might be the best way to do this, because straight up ranking, we might have to leave that for social media, because I don't know. Like I can't say, and just for example, I can't say Cam Ward is the number one quarterback when he hasn't played. I can't say Grayson McCall's one quarterback because he hasn't played at the level. There's a lot of
you can't even say DJU is number one because he lost his starting job to another quarterback in this conference.
Exactly. It's
because you can argue against that there. That's a big argument against. So for this start, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I have not put in any banners for a lot of these guys that we don't think are going to be there.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with some that aren't on there? Or do you want to start with one that is on there?
Let's start with one of the teams that's probably the worst in the ACC. Let's start with Pitt. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with Pitt, because is this a quarterback battle that Narduzzi's going to have?
It looks like it. From what I've seen, they've got Nate Yarnell coming back, a guy that he's played 6 games in 3 years, 4 last year in 2023. Got a little bit of a run as a starter. And, just his baseline stats, they look pretty good. 66% completion percentage, 500 touchdown or passing yards, not touchdowns. Whoa. But 9.6 yards per pass attempt. I'm a big yards per attempt guy. If you can throw for a ton of yards, but if they're a lot behind the line of scrimmage, I don't think that helps you. Look at Bo Nix. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a good ratio. If he can keep it up over a full season, that's a really good sign. 164.8 QBR. That QBR, I just trust that encompasses everything that a quarterback does, and what 100 is average, right? I think. So pretty good QBR. And then the other guy there is Eli Holstein, transferring in from Alabama. Guy didn't play a single down at Alabama. He was a 4-star in the 2022 class. So obviously some talent.
High school about 30 minutes from my house, where I currently live, by the way.
Yeah, Louisiana guy.
Yeah.
So obviously there's some talent they're bringing in Holstein, but Yarnell, man, in those 4 games last year, those numbers look good. I know Pitt's got a lot of issues outside of quarterback, so you may just want to roll with the most talented guy.
You might want to roll with the most talented guy. It feels like the storylines coming out of Pitt's spring practice is that Yarnell was the de facto starter leaving spring ball. And I'm just going to be honest with you, we've spent 2.5 minutes talking about Pitt starting quarterback. I don't think they're a factor in the ACC. If you want just a complete sicko bet this year, go ahead and bet them to make the playoff, and let's just see what happens. I don't want to say I don't care, but it's
2.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's Pitt. I think it's one of the worst ACC teams, and probably the worst quarterback room in the entire conference. So that's where we go with that. Okay, I'm good with not talking about that. Now you have the list. You're pulling up the list.
Yep.
There,
I did not do one for Pitt because I mean there's 2 quarterbacks. So we'll go to another team that we ranked at the bottom last week. That's Stanford. Right. Ashton Daniels.
Yeah.
Started for him last year. You see his numbers if you're watching. 2,200 pass yards, 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 448 yards on the ground, almost 7 yards a pass. That's solid. I'm good with that number there, but Stanford, again, they've got so many problems outside of quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, athletic guy, they have to have, like you said, they've got so many issues. I don't know unless you've got a complete difference maker at that position, it's not going to do a lot for you. I think that's where this team sits. So I'm with you there. This is a bottom 3. This has got to be a bottom 3 quarterback in the conference heading into 2024. So
Yeah.
I don't really have much else to say on Stanford's quarterback situation.
No, I mean that's all that I know about it. 59% completion percentage. At minimum, Daniels looks like a guy that they can build around and can have
Yeah.
success with at the position, but they've got to get better up front, first and foremost there, to help him out.
Yeah, no, agreed.
We're going to stick toward the bottom of the conference. Let's go to a guy that's played quite a bit. Multi-time transfer, Hank Bachmeier. 5 seasons in college football. Started at Boise State, went over to Louisiana Tech, played there last year. 51 touchdowns to 24 interceptions, 2-to-1 ratio, really good. Over 8,000 passing yards, threw it a ton at Boise State. Let's see, 63% completion percentage, 8,600 yards. Guy that's played a ton. But Wake Forest, their offensive line, their wide receivers, not very good.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I look at Bachmeier, it's a guy who's played a lot of football. He's been in the portal now twice, so he's a guy that understands how to acclimate himself quickly to situations. That was a big compliment of Dave Clawson coming out of the spring game. Will, they threw the ball. I went to go look at this. Here's another sicko stat for you. Bachmeier threw 40 passes in the spring game. Like, they slung it around the yard. He threw for 310 yards. Jeremy Hecklinski was actually the most impressive guy. He had 3 touchdowns and 204 passing yards. I don't know if it's going to make a massive difference with what they have going on there with Wake Forest in this season. I don't know if it moves the needle. I think, a guy that is at his 3rd school, 6-year of eligibility, trying to be a bridge maybe to a younger guy like Hecklinski who can, take the reins for Clawson in the future. They're going to have to play good defense. We're kind of going through guys we don't feel like the non-difference makers. We really should have tiered this. I think this was the way to go. And that's what we're doing. Here's the non-difference makers in the ACC.
This is at the bottom.
The
Bryce,
unknowns.
You'll have to make a graphic for this, for the people that miss it.
Yes.
Let's go to Virginia. You take it. You start it off.
Okay, so I'm excited to talk about this one because Anthony Calandria is a guy who was dynamic at times last year. But Tony Muskett is another guy in that room for Virginia where timeout. We had an emergency here on the show. Key to success is watching the show live in a Kroger right now, and he needs to know what Yasso bar to buy.
This is big.
If you're a fruit guy, you got to try out the new mango ones. That's just hands down. That's all I got to say. Cookies and cream, Will does not sit well with those, but that's okay.
That was let's not even get into that.
Not safe for work.
Not even get into that.
All right, so go back to Virginia. Anthony Calandria has more upside than Tony Muskett does. If Virginia is going to take the next step and challenge for bowl games, and, just frankly, if Tony Elliott's going to keep his job there, this is a guy who has to improve. Well, he had one of the worst interception rates in the FBS last year, a 3.7% interception rate. It's a little bit careless. That has to change. I think the best case scenario here.
That's a theme in this conference.
It very is. And look, TriStar says go buy some Nanner pudding.
I was going to say,
TD Jake says,
careful.
Yeah, TJ, but Tony Musk has a banger name. For a quarterback slinging it around the yard, heck yes, TD. I agree with you. I think Calandria has some nice upside, but I don't think he's a bottom barrel quarterback like the 3 we've listed already. But you have to be better. Like, this is a year where you have to not be as careless with the football. And we'll see. I mean, a lot of it's going to hinge on Tony Elliott keeping his job too. Will, any massive thoughts on Calandria at Virginia?
No. I mean, this is a guy I haven't watched a ton of Virginia football at all since Tony Elliott's been there. But just like his baseline numbers, I mean, and he was a freshman last year. Well, last year was the first year starting. He transferred in from UCF. I mean, he ran it for over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. So there's definitely some playmaking ability in him. But, just like these other teams we talked about, they've got so many problems outside the quarterback position that it's going to be tough for him to do a lot.
Yeah. TriStar says, he goes, the quarterback in Virginia named Muskett is UVA playing any team with the nickname of the Redcoats this year. Hey, look, That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Anthony Calandria, not bottom barrel, but needs to take more steps and needs to continue to develop. All right, let's move on to the next one.
We'll go BC first.
All right, so this is where we get into quarterbacks that.
Well, we've got one more, but they could do something depending on who they do. It's a true battle. We got one more battle to talk about after this.
Okay, Boston College. I mean, here's the hope. I think for Boston College, you have a guy who's a dynamic athlete at the quarterback position. Okay, like we can say that Thomas Castellanos is a guy who can, make guys miss. A good rusher, has been able to throw the football. Needs to cut down on the interceptions. Needs to be more careful with what he's trying to do with the football. But you have a perceived quarterback guru as your head coach now, and Bill O'Brien. You would expect the thought process would be that Castellanos I just ask this, is Castellanos a guy that could be a sleeper? Could he make the jump into a top half ACC quarterback? I think the tools are there. The gap between getting there and what's currently, in his repertoire, I think that's the biggest question.
Yeah, my kind of expectation here is Bill O'Brien's going to try to do a lot of what he did with Deshaun Watson with the Houston Texans, a lot of what he did with Bryce Young at Alabama. That style of offense, that style of quarterback play, I think he's going to try to use Castellanos in that way. And I got to correct myself. When we were talking about Calandria, I accidentally read Castellanos' stats. He had the 1,100 rushing yards. Calandria didn't run a ton. I was looking in the wrong group. But, the potential's there. Who was it in the comments? It was TD Jake talked about Castellanos had a really good game against Georgia Tech. So, another guy, if he can cut down on the interceptions, man, he could be really good, and Boston College will be tough to play. But like you said, what does Bill O'Brien want to do? Can he get the most out of them? He's had a pretty good run with quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I would add, too, what's the strength when Bill O'Brien's doing well, with the quarterback position is, yes, you're catering the system to him, but you allow your player to freelance. That's what made Bryce Young so good at Alabama, the ability to freelance. Now, we're not sitting here saying that Thomas Castellanos is Bryce Young and going to go number one when his time for the draft comes.
Was he allowed to freelance, or was that Alabama offensive line that bad he had to freelance?
I'll say having the ability to freelance, because you kind of look what Boston College brings back. It's kind of, a half and half. So there's going to be some turnover on the offensive side of the football for Boston College this year. Can Castellanos help with that? I mean, that's another jump from a quarterback. Can you be so even keeled that it allows for the rest of the offense to continue to grow and do what they need to do? And I think the kid's a good athlete. It would have been really fun to see what Gus would have done with him had he stayed at UCF. That would have been, I think a really kind of fun talking piece. But Boston College has a guy, and I know people, they want to turn on one game or look at one stat in the box score. You go back to the Florida State game. Castellanos was a pain for one of the best teams in the country last year in Florida State, and a defense that was stupid good last year in Florida State's defense. So the upside is there, Will. I think he needs help around him, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. I don't think, once again, not a bottom barrel guy, but a guy for me that out of the names we're going to talk about, maybe if he makes the jump necessary, he could find himself as a top 6, top 7 quarterback in this conference.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to put him on a tier list, I would say he's toward the bottom on the B tier, definitely at the top of the C tier, kind of really in between those two, because the potential's there. I mean, you saw it against Florida State, saw it in several games. Really good. Let's go to a newcomer. Big quarterback battle at Cal.
Big quarterback battle out west. All right, so let's start with you and I talked about this last week. We're super high on Chandler Rogers, the North Texas transfer. This feels like a guy who has played tons of college football and going to make the jump. That being said, they had a guy last year that they really liked, Fernando Mendoza, probably the smartest quarterback in the entire ACC, by the way. When you go look at his offer list, it's like Yale, Harvard, Princeton, FIU. One thing does not look like the other. And then obviously you get to go to Cal, great academically. So when I look at this, Will, I mean, you have a guy who finished the year strong as your quarterback. He gained some momentum in Mendoza. Now you turn the page where you have the hot young shot, okay? You've got the guy who's a young player. Then you've got a guy like Chandler Rogers who has a different skill set. This is a fun battle, I think. And we're not even talking about the fact that you have one of the more underrated running backs in the conference and Jade Knott, returning to Cal. This is going to be, I think, a surprisingly decent offense, no matter who starts under center for them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just Cal as a whole, and I'm still confused as to why they're not better on defense with Justin Wilcox as their head coach running their defense. And he's been there how long? 5-6 seasons. He's been there a while. A long time, you would say, in today's college football. He's been there a long time. If he could figure out that defense, they could be sneaky good this year. But I mean, I lean Chandler Rogers as their starting quarterback. I mean, you look here at what he did at North Texas last year, over 3,300 passing yards, 29 touchdowns to 5 picks. And North Texas, they sling it around. They are truly air raid system, 8 yards per attempt last year through the air for Rogers, completing 64% of his passes. The dude can sling it, and he can put it anywhere on the field. He's really good quarterback. I think he'll end up winning this job. But like you said, Mendoza came on the second half of the year, was really good for them. I only watched Cal when they played Auburn. I wasn't going to stay up and watch that team play a whole lot. They went between Sam Jackson and I can't even think of the other guy's name. And Sam Jackson's now playing wide receiver for Auburn. So that's what they were working with at quarterback last year. Chandler Rogers, I think he comes in and is probably the best quarterback Wilcox has had at Cat. Well,
Plummer wasn't bad.
Trying to think.
Plummer
didn't
wasn't
have
bad.
Jared Goff, did he?
No.
I didn't think so. I think that was Cal before. So Rogers will probably be the best quarterback Wilcox has had there. And they'll be able to run the ball with Ott. They'll be able to run the ball with Jay Knott. So no matter who the quarterback is, they'll have a running game to complement them.
You go back and look at Chandler Rogers. I mean, 29 tutties and 5 picks last year. He didn't turn the ball
unnamed
over.
Intern hits me with the name last year. Ben Finley. Ben Finley. Okay, yes. So Chandler Rogers, I think he's a guy that could be ranked higher. He just hasn't done it against really great competition, and he gets the chance this year. So that's going to be. And TD, I kind of agree with you here. I cannot lie and say I know anything about California football except Jade Knott. You can thank the ACC for adding them to your conference. I only know anything about them because they have a home and home with Auburn. That's
there you go. That's where it starts and ends. All right. Well, I think we're entering the territory. We've talked about what, 6 guys? 6 guys so far?
Yep. We want to try to rank the last 11. Let's go 11-1 and try to rank them.
Okay.
And 11 is going to be difficult.
Unnamed intern in the background, list our rankings. Go ahead and open a Google Doc and get that in there. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and rank 11 through 1. So, the guys we've talked about, we don't think they have a shot in however you want to say it of doing this.
And we leave Cal for the end because they probably have the best chance of doing anything, especially if it's Chandler Rogers, in my opinion, because I think Chandler Rogers is really, really good. So this guy's tough. We don't have named intern Dr. Bob in here tonight, who could help us out here because he told us last week that Duke's got a quarterback competition, but they bring in Malik Murphy from Texas. Didn't play a ton, only completed 56% of his passes, 6 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But another highly recruited guy at quarterback for Texas. A lot of talent there. A dual threat guy. He's going to run it a lot, I think, for them. And you think about that new offense coming in. I'm forgetting the name of the offense coordinator, Bryce. If you know it, shout it out. Comes from SMU.
Okay, I know. Yes,
Dukes. Yeah. They're going to run the ball, and he's going to want to use the quarterback to run the ball. Malik Murphy's a dynamic guy. So I anticipate Malik Murphy. Dr. Bob tried to tell us otherwise, but we'll see. And that's kind of the reason why I'm putting him at 11. We haven't seen him a lot. There's probably a quarterback battle. Don't know a ton.
So you've got Malik Murphy at 11. That's where you're going with him in. golly. This is so bad. All of it's just bad. Let's get to this question real quick because TriStar is going to keep asking this. He goes, "You never answer my question, Will. Can you buy that hat at Fort Benning? And if not, where can you buy that hat?"
No, you can buy it in Atlanta because it is a Falcons hat.
It's a Falcons hat. Okay, so I wish we would have come up with a ranking system before this because I genuinely I don't know where to put them.
Can you pull up a make your own tier list? Should we just do it that way?
Should we just run a commercial and then come back? Maybe we should.
Sure.
Wow, what a comment. I mean, this is wild. We're just in here for that comment, I guess. All right, we'll be right back. We'll catch you here in just a second. Hey everyone, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milt decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
Okay, we're going to try to do this. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So Malik Murphy. This is going to be very, very interesting. This I don't know. Like I don't know where to I don't know where / how to do this. Like this is going to be.
Do we just pull up a blank Google Doc and share the screen and just make the list?
I'm about to see something here because this, I mean, this is, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, this is just, if I can find what I'm trying to find here. Okay, this is what we're going to do.
TriStar does not appreciate the ads. Cajuns aren't in Columbia, South Carolina. They're in South Louisiana, in the words of Jerry Clower. I think Jonesy and TriStar would be good friends.
I believe they could be. No doubt about it. Okay. So this is what we're going to do here.
Relax, Jonesy. We'll get there. We'll talk about Haynes King eventually. Relax. I know you've been waiting all week for us to talk about Haynes King.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We have a tiered list. Okay. Now we have just the teams, and this is not even all the teams of the ACC that we're doing. We got
Boston College in there twice.
So I don't know what's going on. So I don't even like this. I don't even want to use that.
Let's use it. Give the people a visual.
Give the people a visual.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're just going solely off of quarterbacks here,
I say we put Duke in C. Between Malik Murphy, who hasn't played Boston College twice. Bold strategy. Notre Dame, we're not talking about them because they're not really in the ACC.
Nope.
Pitt's
so this is where we're going to get
Pitt's down there in the bottom two.
All right. Okay. So here's our tier list of quarterbacks. Imagine these guys are playing quarterback. Don't worry about the new teams. We're going to talk about those, I guess. I guess. I don't know. Give me 1 second. Will, go ahead and talk about just something. Just
TriStar with his, fighting the fight against conference realignment day in and day out. Where's Maryland on this tier list? Georgia Tech and Florida State should be in the SEC tier list. TriStar, we're in 2024, not 1924, when things made a lot more sense as far as conferences go. I'm with you. Maryland has always had their best years in the ACC.
Yeah, that's not wrong. Okay, we've already talked about the two other teams, so I got it fixed now. All right, so here we go.
Missing South Carolina TriStar. I know you feel strongly that South Carolina should still be in the ACC.
All right, so here we go. Right here.
There we go.
So I've added SMU in there. Now let's just go down the list here. We're going to start with SMU's Preston Stone. Preston Stone is a talented quarterback. I can already hear people just complaining, which happens a lot. But here's my thought on Preston Stone. Preston Stone is one of the guys, if we like to just single out statistics, which a lot of fans of certain program that dominates our fan base likes to single out certain statistics. For PFF's advanced metrics, only 2 quarterbacks had a better passing grade than Jane Daniels, last year's Heisman winner, and Preston Stone was one of them. He, by definition of that stat, is an elite passer. And so Rhett Lashley, the new offensive scheme, can it translate? Here's where I sit with Preston Stone.
New scheme? No, nothing's changing.
And well, the new running this scheme in the ACC, I should say. Apologies.
Okay.
Nothing's changing.
I was gonna say,
yeah, you got to keep Preston. You got to keep him healthy.
Gus Malzahn's #1 disciple. Gus Malzahn's never changed anything. You think Lashley's going to change?
Yeah, probably not. I think there's a case for Preston Stone to be the best quarterback in the ACC. The problem for me is that he has not done it at this level. Can that translate? So by that de facto, can we put SMU in this B tier? Is he better than what Malik Murphy brings to the table?
Yes. I would say he's at the top of B tier.
Okay.
I think that, big problem with him is he only averages 3.4 yards a carry. Yards per carry means a ton at the quarterback position in the ACC. More than any other conference, more than any other league, down from Pee Wee to the NFL. Yards per carry for a quarterback is the #1 stat in the ACC. Completion percentage is a little low, only 59%, but he's more than serviceable. You see there 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions over 3 seasons. That's a really good ratio. This is a guy that is smart with the ball. Lashley, as a play caller, as offensive coordinator, as a play caller, they know when to take their shots. You've seen Gus Malzahn's offense. This offense, when the play caller knows when to take a shot, they hit it at a really, really high clip when they take their shots. And that's part of the reason why he's got over 3,600 passing yards and only 7 picks to 30 touchdowns. So he's in a really good spot and still with room to grow. Obviously, he can get the completion percentage up. But I really like Preston Stone. I think Stone is, without a doubt, right behind that top tier of quarterbacks in the ACC.
Yeah, I think that he brings a lot to the table in terms of just being able to be a playmaker for your team, being able to just do some different things. I think that's do different things at a high level. Like Preston Stone is a guy that's going to be able to win you some ball games. We talked about what their ceiling, maybe 8 to 9 wins they can win this year. I think that right now, based off of what I have seen and what I know about Preston Stone, a B-level quarterback in the ACC, maybe the best B-level quarterback, that I think that there's legitimacy to this. And we want to get your comments in here too. Okay,
that's where I have Stone as the top B level.
All right, let's go with let's go with Kyron Drones. TD Jake says Kyron Drones sucks. And while that's just factually incorrect, Kyron Drones is a guy who I understand that he only averages 4.9 yards per carry. Like I understand that like every single time he takes off, if he just does that 2 times on average, it's a first down. I understand that. And I guess I somewhat understand why that's like not good. Maybe. Virginia Tech is a really good football team, I think, this year. I think Kyron Drones, I understand the hype. Like what he did last year, if they're more explosive down the field, yes, the yards per attempt was low. If they're more explosive down the field, you're going to be talking about a guy who has a legitimate case in being the ACC's best quarterback. Like that, like everything backs that up. He could lead the whole conference in rushing and was nearly responsible for 3,000 total yards in his first year as a starter.
That. Like, don't say that he could lead the conference in rushing yards, dude.
For a quarterback.
I know. Don't.
He could. I mean, I know he's only averaging 4.9 a pop, but you do that 2 times.
Alan, I'm so glad you found the show.
Alan Howard.
Alan, we love you. We love you, Alan.
I'm not familiar with his work. Alan the geriatric. So let's I mean, like this guy, he's a good quarterback. And is he going to be in New York? I don't know. I think that's far-fetched. But I'm excited to see what Drones bring to the table. So when I go back here, Will, based off of the rest of the ACC, where do we have him going here?
I think he's right up there with Preston Stone at the top of B tier. I agree with you 100%. Drones is a guy that when we come back to the end of the season, he could be the best quarterback in the ACC. But he's got to take that next step. Last year, only completed 58% of his passes. That's got to improve. 7.3 yards per pass. Really good. Dr. Bob is in here. Dr. Bob, we'll come back to you later because we need some more education on Duke. But Kyron Drones, 818 rushing yards last year, ran for 5 touchdowns to go along with the 17 he threw. Only threw 3 picks. Tells me he's making good decisions. 2,000 passing yards. It's a really good accomplishment any year, no matter where you're playing, who you're playing. But he transferred in from Baylor. He played 5 games at Baylor, completed 60% of his passes there. I know it's a small sample size, but I think that kind of shows you who he could be. And in those 5 games at Baylor, he averaged 9.5 yards per pass. So he was throwing the ball down the field. So he can be a little bit better than he was last year.
In the passing game.
In the passing game, for sure.
So are we rolling with him in the A list, in the A tier?
I think we keep him in B, but we put him ahead of Stone solely because he's done it in the conference. But if you take that out, they are neck and neck, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Let's go Max Johnson, North Carolina. Max Johnson, this is really where I sit with Max Johnson in North Carolina, Will. We're talking about a guy here who, to me, the floor is high. Like the ceiling might not be high on what you're going to get out of Max Johnson, but you know that this is a guy who's a gamer. He's played well at times. He's played well for stretches of a season. He helped keep Texas A&M afloat at times last year after their kind of injury situation, especially in that Auburn game. When their starting quarterback
really last year
went down. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the ACC, so he's going to make a jump to a lesser conference. So where does that put him in terms of this? Like he's done it in the SEC at 2 different schools. He has started. Yes, you have a guy who has the experience, but Jacoby Criswell's transferred back to North Carolina. He went from North Carolina to Arkansas, back to North Carolina. They got another guy there named Connor Harrell. This, to me, I don't. This might be bold, but if it's me, I'm putting him right here.
Oh,
I'm putting him as a C tier because just in my opinion, the floor is low, but I like the upside of what's ahead of him more. I just don't know if the upside of Max Johnson is what Drake Mays and what Sam Howell's was at North Carolina. I think he can be serviceable. I don't think it's necessarily going to be super explosive though.
I disagree with you on this one. I think he's in that A tier. I think Max Johnson is one of the best quarterback. He's a throwback quarterback. He's not going to run a lot. He's a pocket passer. He's got enough mobility and athleticism to avoid sacks in the pocket. He does really well at that, but takes care of the ball. 60% completion percentage over his career, 5,800 passing yards, 47 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Takes care of the ball. You know, the floor is high, but you know that could be enough. And when your floor is, and I think the floor for him is really high, really high. We know who Max Johnson is. We know what we're going to get out of him. Is it national championship level quarterback play? No. But do you need national championship quarterback play to win and succeed in this conference? No, I don't think you do. And I would say he's one of the 4 or 5 best in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he can be good. I think I like the potential. I guess I'm going on potential upside in this conference of what he can be. So you know what? We're not even going to use that anymore because if we're going to have differing opinions, there's no point. Okay, let's just straight up rank them. Let's just go. Let's just rank them. This is a completely dysfunctional program that we got going on here tonight. Hand up. All right, so let's go. Let's just go case for the number one quarterback. This is what we're going to do the rest of the show. The case for the number one quarterback, but why they can't be the number one quarterback. And then we'll give our top 3 quarterbacks in the ACC on each side. Let's do that.
Well, I think we've got one more guy that we are really very confident cannot be the number one guy. So let's hit him first. Tyler Shough. Yeah, that's
Shough? How you pronounce the guy's name. Yeah, we just
Tyler Shough.
Out, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
it's another 3-time transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about 3-time transfers.
I think with Tyler Shough, I mean, they're hoping to get another plug and play option like they had last year with Jack Plummer. Is that going to be something they can do? Jeff Brom, one of the best coaches in the ACC, a top 3 head coach in the ACC, in my opinion, and probably a top 15 coach in college football, in my opinion, as well, what he's able to do. I genuinely think when you look at his career numbers, Will, he's thrown for 4,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, 17 interceptions over his career. He was hurt last year. He has run for 714 yards, 10 touchdowns with his legs, so he can do it when need be. Look, he can sling the ball around the yard, and Jeff Brom's going to open it up. They're going to have some dudes for him to throw to. I think this is a guy who is, I'll say this, a top 8 quarterback in the ACC. He's got the potential to jump. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know, man. After that, that's kind of where I sit with Tyler Shough.
I agree with that. 63% completion percentage. That's really good. That's like NFL prospect level. But this is a guy that's not getting a lot of NFL looks for a number of reasons. But I think he's going to a really good place for him, a guy that's had success and his numbers look good. He's going to an offense. Jeff Brom's going to open it up. They're going to air it out. He's going to give his quarterback a shot to make plays. And this is a guy that's made some plays. He's got a higher ceiling than he does that low floor. I think he's more high ceiling guy. And if he wants to keep playing at the next level, I think he's gone to the right place, play for the right guy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But as far as 2024 goes, I don't know. Can he stay healthy? I think that's the biggest question with him. Can he stay healthy? Because he got banged up at Oregon too.
He got banged up at Oregon. You have to hope he can stay healthy. Will, I'm all over the place in this show, and I apologize. That's hand on me. I say we break the seal right now. We go top 3 quarterbacks. Let's just do it, and then we'll talk about the other guys. That you want me to go ahead and give my top 3? Intern, we can. I'll go ahead and enter in a banner of my top 3 quarterbacks. We're going to take a quick break. Will's going to enter a banner in of his. I'll pull my 3 up and talk about them. Will you pull your 3 up and talk about them? Does that sound good?
Good with me.
Sounds good with you? Okay. We're going to talk with this guy first.
So you know where I live, so come get some. Like, for real. I'm just going to be honest, man. He's almost something done so bad. Come get some. Y'all take care. God bless.
Hey everyone, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milton decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall. Okay, the moment you've been waiting for, 47 minutes in the show. We apologize. Top 3 quarterbacks in the ACC. This is as of right now. I am not going to make any friends here. I just looked at Will's. Will's going to make more friends than I do. Will has not seen mine. I'm rolling with it, and I'm going to tell you why right here. I've got Cam Ward. I've got DJU, and I'm going Grayson McCall as the 3rd best quarterback in the ACC. Let's rock and roll with why I think that. In terms of 2024 potential impact, guys, I don't know if you saw, Miami just added Tyler Barron. They have revamped their entire defense. You say, well, Bryce, what does that mean? We're talking about quarterbacks. There's no excuse for this team to not get to Charlotte. None whatsoever. Miami has to be in Charlotte into the year, or it is a disappointing, it's a lost season in 2024. And Cristobal should be on the hot seat. I will say that as well because he's not coming on the show. I'll say it. Okay. Cam Ward is the guy for me that has the highest potential of being an impact player. Yes, he has not done it at this level. Yes, he has not done it in terms of the ACC and all that. He did it in the Pac-12 for a season. I think he's the most dynamic playmaker at the position in this entire conference, and he's going to be surrounded by absolute dudes all the way around him. I will also tell you this. This guy might have been, he might have been one of the top quarterbacks to hear his name called this past year. Knowing what we know now, after the NFL draft, with the run on quarterbacks that happened, Cam Ward would have tested amazing in Indianapolis. He would have done a lot of different things, regardless if you think that you know better than an NFL GM or not. He might have been a day 1 pick for some team sitting in that top 32 picks. Now, I think he would have been more of a day 2 pick. I think that Cam Ward has the biggest propensity to be the best player. I think he could be ACC Player of the Year. That's where his type of gameplay is styled. Now, he's going to have to do a lot of things. You watch on film. He's got really good, nice precision down the field. When he's playing with some great athletes, they've got great athletes, the wide receiver position in Miami and Coral Gables. It's going to be a spread offense. He's going to be able to do a lot. He's going to be able to freelance. It's all there. It's all there for Miami to be able to do this. All right. Number 2, this one is already not being well received. When I look at DJ Uiagalelei, first off, I can pronounce his name, which is farther than what a lot of people can do. So I do give myself credit in that. A lot of people look at DJ and they say, and I'm sure we'll have this a part, of this, is that it doesn't make sense, and you said this, Will, that the player who chased DJ away is lower on the list for me. I get that.
Yeah.
I understand that. Yeah. Valid. I think a lot of people are going off of what they saw in DJ in 2022. Okay, that's fine. Players can get better. And this is a guy, when they catered the offense to what he does best, Oregon State had success, and he had success in that offense. I think the redemption factor for him is going to be something that's going to be really big, going back into the ACC, needing to compete and being on a team that can compete for a spot in Charlotte, no doubt about it. The idea that he is hot and cold or inconsistent, yeah, he showed some of that in his time at Clemson. He had a great year last year. He, like I said, when they did what he needed to do, like when they built around him, which is what Mike Norvell's a good enough coach, they're going to have pieces around him. It is going to really be, and it's going to be. I think Miami and Florida State could play for the ACC title. Like, I'll say that. I think these could be the two best quarterbacks when we get to the end of the season. So we'll see. Does it hit? I think at worst, the floor of DJU is going to be a guy that can get you to 8-9 wins. And that might also get you to Charlotte if you win 9 games this year. So I think, can he get you to an ACC title? That's how I kind of went about this. We'll see. Now, Will, I have been debating on this since last Thursday. And Haynes King is my 4th best quarterback in this conference. But here is
that means our lists are wildly different.
Yeah.
Wildly different.
They are. And when this gets released on social media, I'm sure that I'll just be, I don't know. Grayson McCall is one of the more recently accomplished quarterbacks in the group of 5. I think we can all sit there and say at what he's been able to do at his time, the statistics he's been able to put up, that's great. That is that's exactly where he is for me. Well, what the differentiating factor is for McCall versus Haynes King. I think that Grayson McCall's first year in the ACC, and please feel free to clip this, please, because we're talking about this in May. I'm not saying this after week 3. You know what I mean? That we might be singing a different tune. I think that Grayson McCall's year 1 in the ACC can be just as good as Haynes King's year 1 of the ACC was this past year. We've seen what King can do in the ACC. Okay. That's what he's been able to do. I cannot definitely tell you that Grayson McCall is going to be worse than what Haynes King put on paper in year 1. I think NC State has some weapons. I think Dave Doran's a really good head coach. I think Dave Doran has been really, really good with quarterbacks. I think this is also a chance where he probably has one of the better quarterbacks he's had in his entire tenure over there in Raleigh. So I think that this is a guy who he's so accomplished, Will. Yes, you could say he hasn't done it at that level, but the guys that I'm ranking him against, they have their own deficiencies at the level that we're talking about. So, like, for example, the giveaways aspect that everyone wants to talk about with Haynes King, like that for me is like, I think Grayson McCall can do better taking care of the football than Haynes King did in year 1 in the ACC. That's my logic for it. I like the commodity that McCall is, even though it's not at the level that King has done it. King has done this for 1 legitimate season. I mean, I don't think that's wrong in saying that. Like, yeah, he's been able to do some stuff. It takes him. He was hurt. That's not his fault. But what McCall brings to the table, I think he brings stability. And I think, once again, I think his floor is pretty high. Now, the Haynes King ceiling might be higher if he cuts down the turnover. Sure. I think McCall's going to take care of the football. And I think that he trusts his arm. I think that he has a good understanding of what he wants to do with the football. And I'm excited to watch what he's going to do. So, yeah, my top 3 quarterbacks: Ward, DJU, and Grayson McCall. I want
to discuss your top 3 a little bit. So Cam Ward, I agree with you. Dude is an NFL prospect. He's a dude. Really good quarterback. Just haven't seen it. And I kind of got called out in the Discord last week a little bit, and I was actually wrong. Him going from the Pac-12 to the ACC is a step up. I don't know that anybody's really going to debate that. Yeah. Defenses in the ACC across the board were better than they were in the Pac-12. So he's a guy that's got to prove it to me. Same with Grayson McCall. 2 guys that I think can prove it, are more than good enough to prove it and can do it. And for Grayson McCall, I wonder what that NC State offense is going to look like, because he did all of that great stuff at Coastal, or the majority of his great stuff down there in Jamie Chadwell's funky, different, just kind of wild offense.
Yeah.
So what does he look like? What does NC State's offense look like? Do they take some aspects of that for him? I'm sure they will. But what exactly does it look like? So those two are not in my top three.
Mm-hmm.
But your guy in the middle, he's in my top three as well. Cade Klubnik, DJU, and Haynes King. That's my top three. And I really almost put DJU ahead of Cade Klubnik. But like I said before, Cade Klubnik beat him out. He beat him out. He's the reason he left. So I'll start with Klubnik. I like Klubnik a lot. I think him coming back, Garrett Riley coming back, running that offense, those two getting another year to work together is going to be a really, really big deal for them, for Cade Klubnik, for Clemson, for that offense. Man, Klubnik was pretty good last year. 63% completion percentage. They throw a ton of screens, so that's definitely boosting his completion percentage. Threw for 3,500 yards, 6.4 yards per pass, 21 touchdowns to 12 picks. It's like we said about just about everybody on this list. Every quarterback we've talked about tonight, they got to cut down on turnovers. And if Klubnik can do that, and I said it when we did our ceilings and floors, I think Clemson is a national championship contender again this year. I think they're going to rebound in a big way, and I think Cade Klubnik is going to be a big part of that. And he didn't run a ton, just 300 yards. 2 yards per carry. I know we love yards per carry for a quarterback, but that offensive line was bad last year. They're going to be a lot better this year. I really believe that with Matt Luke coming in, he's going to make changes, make improvements right away. So that's going to help Klubnik out a ton too. DJU, and the comments are firing off about DJU.
Yeah.
Man, people forget DJU as a freshman went into South Bend in the night game and beat Notre Dame.
But the argument is that Notre Dame's not any good. They always lose big games. Like, you can't just discredit everything. That's what I'm saying, though. You can't just discredit it because it doesn't fit your narrative. But anyways,
the talent for DJU is there. He couldn't put it all together at Clemson for a number of reasons. He had Klubnik, who was highly recruited, really good athlete, breathing down his neck. He was replacing one of the best college quarterbacks of the last 5 years in Trevor Lawrence. There was a lot of pressure there, and he struggled. And I think Dabo and Clemson fans will say the same thing. The roster around him kind of took a step back as well. That hurt him. But man, it's like you said, he went out to Oregon State and had a really good year. This is a guy in 5 seasons, he's thrown for over 8,000 yards, 57 touchdowns, 24 interceptions, and a lot of those were at Clemson. I mean, he was really, really good last year. And he can run a little bit too, 1,100 yards over 5 years. So he can do a little bit of everything. Florida State, another team that I think is an ACC contender. I don't know that I would go and say they're a national title contender. I just think it just depends on what all these transfers do for them. But DJU is really good. Really good. You talked a lot about him, so I'll move on. So Haynes King. I'm making some friends tonight, and I'm surprising a lot of people I know.
You are, yeah.
I like Haynes King. Haynes King has proven me wrong. I wrote him off when he was at Texas A&M. I wrote him off in 2022. But man, last year he was good. He completed 60% of his passes. I mean, he is a dual threat. I think he might be the biggest dual threat in the ACC. Part of that's out of necessity because that offensive line was not good, so he had to run a ton, but he showed he could do it. Ran for 800 yards last year, 11 touchdowns. But again, he's got to cut down on the picks. Just 27 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Those interceptions got to come down. And I really think that they will come down. He threw for 2,800 yards, over 7 yards per attempt. Really good number, 7.7. Really good. No, I'm sorry. He ran for 700 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. Haynes King is good. Haynes King, if he takes that next step this year, I'm not gonna get that hot of a take. But if he takes that next step, you're looking at a Georgia Tech team that might be 1 or 2 games away from playing in Charlotte.
That depends on the defense.
Their schedule's tough. Yeah, it depends on the defense. But if he takes that next step, they will have an offense capable of winning the ACC. So that's why I have Haynes King at 3.
So I want to get to a couple comments here because this is sports debate, right? Like we're having a debate, and so Gib, let's go to Gib West. Gib, I don't know if you're subscribed to the show. Hope you are. So Gib says, DJ Bryce, you lost all credibility. Based off what? Like that's what I want to know. So based off of what who can, this is the problem with this conference. Who can you confidently say 110% with no leaks in the argument is better than my 3 or Will's 3? And that's not to say like our 3 are perfect. Like, Will, I'm totally open to the idea of DJU not being a top 3 quarterback. I just think that he's a guy that can be. I just don't know what definitive information we have out there that shows us, hey, this guy is not one of the best quarterbacks in this conference. David said DJ's too hot and cold. He's unproven. Unproven. I don't know where we're pulling that from.
Proven.
I mean, the guy's played multiple years of college football. He has won in big time atmospheres. Clemson had no weapons, like when he was playing quarterback. A lot of people want to point to the fact when they didn't even barely score against Georgia. Guys, that was one of the best defenses we've seen since the 2000s. That like nobody's barely scored against them. So I don't like every argument for him is going to be
like you said, those wide receivers he had at Clemson were bad. They were really bad.
Yeah, they were bad.
But no, DJ's proven. You know what you're getting with DJU. He's just inconsistent. That's been his problem.
DJU at ND was a lifetime ago. Okay, fair. That was a long time ago. Yes, that was his freshman year. Long time ago. The problem is a lot of people are basing off their opinion of DJU of what he was at Clemson, which was 2 football seasons ago, which that's a lifetime ago. Like, guys are allowed to develop. So if the logic of discrediting DJU is based off, well, you can't say that point because that was a long time ago, you then can't use the same process to get to your own point that would support your thought. You can't do that. Like that doesn't match up in the lines. I just think bottom line, I don't know if there's a clear-cut top quarterback. I think Cam Ward has the most upside. I think DJU has one of the highest floors, and Grayson McCall, to me, when you match him up with Haynes King, I like him more, but I think it's a very, very close race. I think that's kind of just bottom line. I mean, and here's another fact. If we're going to throw comments, let's have a debate. Why? Like, why can't he be the best quarterback in the ACC? Because he hasn't done it at this level yet. Okay, if your biggest knock is you haven't done it at this level yet, I mean, why can't you? That's been for every quarterback. And I'll just say this too, if you want to throw another hot take in there, go back to my list. I don't think this is hot at all. If we're counting Notre Dame as an ACC team, I'm going Cam Ward, Riley Leonard, DJU.
Yep.
That's what I'm going. I think Riley Leonard is the top 3 quarterback in the ACC.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I agree.
I don't know.
I'm with you
I
there.
don't think there's a general consensus when you look at this conference, and I'm just kind of going through like the top 35 college quarterbacks in college football. In a very small spectrum, you have Kyron Drones, you've got DJU, you've got Castellanos, who people have above DJU in some rankings. You've got Haynes King at 21, you've got McCall at 20. Like, this isn't something that's completely just asinine. Like that I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I don't know I don't know what we're going off to sit there and say, here is the here's the thing. Gibb says, appreciate you tuning in. Gibb played at GT a long time ago. I'm guessing he's saying he did. Appreciate you tuning in. And as a lineman, never impressed with GT at Clemson. Gibb, in all seriousness, not trolling, would love to know why. Like, what makes DJ not impressive? And also, too, why are we basing this off of what he did 2 years ago? Haynes had less support with no defense and having to score almost every series. Haynes was tough. Yeah, Haynes was tough. He had almost 20 interceptions. Like, he threw some of the most picks in college football. The idea that we want, and we'll just go in on this. Are you ready for this? The idea that we just want to ignore statistics, and this is not a shot you give, this is a whole based idea. Let me pigeonhole this statistic that says he was the only quarterback to do such and such compared to Jaden Daniels. But then let me ignore the double-digit picks he had. I like Haynes King. I'm with Will completely. If he cuts down on us, how do we know that Haynes King isn't just a gunslinger, though? Like, how do we know that he's not a guy that is just completely he's going to lay it all out there and you just live and die with that? Maybe he is that. I'll tell you what the real thing is here with this Georgia Tech fan base. The real thing is you have not had competent quarterback play in 4 or 5 years. The second that you get that, you gravitate, you hold on to it, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Haynes King's a good quarterback. Haynes King is a top 20, top 25 quarterback in the country, in my opinion. He's got to correct those things. If he does,
he's a guy.
Yeah.
I think like him and like Cade Klubnik, another year, him getting to work with Buster Faulkner, that was, I know you had to fix the defense, but I think the best thing that Brinke did was able to, I don't know if he had to talk Buster Faulkner into staying or what all went down, but keeping Buster Faulkner there was huge for 2024. I don't know that can be understated, overstated enough, can't be said enough. That's going to make Haynes King take that next step. If he went back to another coordinator, it would be more of the same, and he wouldn't be up there. He wouldn't be near the top.
And I think that when you look at what King brings to the table, like there's the obvious upside. He's capitalizing on this high, the high evaluations that he got in the recruiting cycle. We just have to see. We just have to see. This is what's going to be great, Will. This is what's going to happen. Someone's going to screenshot this and they're going to send it in a Twitter group with a lot of people who think they're connected. And they're going to say, look at what these idiots say. Look at what these morons say. Here's the fact of the matter with this. If you want to just watch,
called a clown all week.
Yeah, well, that's by SEC fans, real college football fans. So, if we kind of just turn it and look at that, I genuinely think that we're sitting in a scenario of where Cam Ward could be the Heisman Trophy winner this year. And people aren't I don't know what Vegas's odds are for that, Will. You could look that up. That's not an asinine take. He could also be the next De'Aaron King. We just don't know. Grayson McCall could fall flat on his face playing against the ACC each and every single week. Haynes King could throw 15 to 16 interceptions, next year. The idea that progress is just linear and it just continues like this, that's not realistic. So a lot of the arguments, and I even include this with Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik here, one of the highly top quarterbacks in the country when he was in high school. The idea, well, he's just going to get better because he has to. That there's no basis of proof of that. Yes, you're right. There are cases where you sit and look at, here's so-and-so making his move to be better because it's a new system and all these different types of things. But there's a lot of guys that just don't. And I don't think there's a rhyme or rhythm to any of it. I'm sure that people will come back on this show or come back in some comment or in the Discord and say, well, you say, no one's sitting here saying that Haynes King can't be the ACC Offensive Player of the Year. I'm not saying that. I think that he can. It's just there are massive red flags with each quarterback in this conference. That's who I think as of May the 20th, what's the day? May the 22nd? I don't even know what it is. May 21st. As of May 21st, that's who I feel like the three best are. I might come with a completely different opinion in June, July.
So Heisman Trophy odds, Cam Ward plus 2,000, Cade Klubnik plus 2,800, DJU plus 2,800. Those are the top three in the ACC. If you count Riley Leonard, he's in there at plus 2,200. Looking down the list, Kyle McCord at plus 8,000. Grayson McCall plus 10,000. Max Johnson plus 15,000. Preston Stone plus 15,000. Malik Murphy plus 15,000. Kyron Drones plus 15,000. Thomas Castellanos plus 20,000. And there's a name that I don't see on this list.
So per Vegas, what we're saying is not completely just out of left field and wild. Like it's not.
Tyler Shough plus 10,000.
Now, a name that you mentioned on there, and I want to talk
Omari
about
and Hampton is also, his Heisman odds are on here plus 20,000. No Haynes King. According to this is Bet Online.
Another quarterback that you mentioned I want to talk about is Kyle McCord, because I think Kyle McCord can have a complete renaissance. People watched him at Ohio State last year. They acted like he was absolutely terrible. And people just don't – people just look at box scores and then they just say, well, this guy's obviously got to be bad.
Over 3,000 yards last year, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I know the counter
he
argument
just wasn't
here is,
explosive.
I know the counter argument is, well, look at his wide receivers. Yeah. Yeah. He
You're
had
right.
some NFL wide receivers.
But are we supposed to punish him for that?
No.
I don't know, man. I think this. We'll sum it up like
Dev
this.
says, I think that's just Vegas not really paying attention to ACC QBs. I can tell you that Vegas pays attention to things that nobody else pays attention to.
Yeah. Bodley says
Austin Bodley, King is plus 50,000. I don't know if he's trolling or if that's a real number.
well, and let's just end it with this. The synopsis of this entire show is we don't know. Nobody knows. There's nothing that can guarantee that your favorite school's quarterback is going to be the best quarterback in this conference, because nobody's really necessarily without their massive flaws. I don't think that there's a day one pick. I will say that outside of potentially Cam Ward being a fringe guy. You get into a day two pick. I don't know either. What I do think is interesting when you look at this overall quarterback roster of guys, you got a lot of good athletes. You got guys that are, looking for a rebound season. You've also got players that are really trying to maybe come into their own after a first season, which was some highs and some lows. Just be careful, pay attention, have an open mind to the fact that, like I said, progress isn't linear. It's not just this constant line with no bumps. Sometimes it takes a while to get there, and we'll figure out pretty soon. I mean, I know people talk about this, and a majority of the fan base that watches our show is going to say this. Week 0 is going to tell you a lot. DJU against Haynes King. Like, we're going to learn a lot of those things. Haynes King's my fourth best quarterback. Fourth best quarterback in the ACC. We're going to come out with a full list over on social media, so make sure you follow us there. But going to be very interesting. And then TD Jacobs, got to give him a hard time. Logo next to the name. Yeah, logo next to the name. That's the only reason that anybody's ever good at anything. So, hey, we'll see. Well, once again, apologies. This show's all over the place. Thanks so much. If you're listening, you're in a complete blender, by the way. Like, if you're listening to this show, you have no clue what's going on. I apologize for that. So, yeah.
Hey, if you don't like where we ranked quarterbacks, just take a look at this.
So you know where I live, so come get some. Like, for real. I'm just going to be honest, man. He's almost something done so bad. Come get some. Y'all take care. God bless.
And thanks so much for tuning in. Tomorrow night, if you haven't already, on Wednesday night, pay attention. We're going to be dropping our one-on-one interview with Clay Helton of Georgia Southern. Check that one out, and stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button if you're listening on those feeds as well. We will catch you next time. ACC quarterbacks, wild time. Check out the social media for graphics. We'll see you next week.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.